I've spent most of my life working in television and motion pictures and all areas of entertainment. And I've learned over the years that there are a lot of things in life, and maybe the most important things, that are almost impossible to capture on film. Now, the film you're about to see is unusual. It's a very personal film. It asks you to think. It asks you to experience some values and emotions that you won't find too often on television. Now, the story takes place in a small, quiet valley in Northern California. It's about change. Change which threatens the lives of those few whites and Indians who live in that quiet little valley. And it's about something we can all feel in our own lives. The meaning of community, the meaning of home, and what it means when those things are taken away from you. The story is told by a young filmmaker who wandered into that quiet little valley one day and stayed for 3 years trying to capture on film what he found there. The name of the film is The Probable Passing of Elk Creek.
In here, there's a place most of us have never been. It's not really something physical, it's more of a feeling. It's a place I need when I'm alone, or tired, or scared, when life out there drives me inside. Originally, I came here to do a TV news story about a small valley 150 miles north of San Francisco. A little town in here was in big trouble. I didn't plan to stay too long, but something in here stopped me. Something in the way these people talked about their place.
Home. Freedom. You know, you can be yourself. You don't have to be somebody else. Or what do you call it? Put on a show. Here you don't have to do that. You're just natural.
Well, the first time I crossed over this divide and coasted down into this valley, I felt a sort of warmth. I felt safe. And that was strange. Why should I feel safe when everything in here was in danger? Maybe it was it back in the city. I was always going someplace, but I barely had time to figure out where I was headed. It was always bigger, faster, more. But when I got here, to Elk Creek, I met people who seemed happy with something smaller, slower, less.
Well, I've got a whole heck of a lot more than I've ever had. I've got this place here. And I know it's rough to keep it, but I'm going to keep it one way or the other. And I got a good family, and I've got just, you know, basically I'm happy. I'm just damn happy with everything I've got. And I don't want anything or anybody to disturb it.
Elk Creek only has one store. The post office is in the back. There's one church, one restaurant, one bar. It's not too fancy, but friendly. There's one gas station. Well, they used to have two, but the other one closed. There's a volunteer fire department. And there's a grange where the farmers get together. Elk Creek has a sheriff, but they don't have a jail. But then they don't have much use for one either. You know, when you think about it, most of us don't even own our own home. A lot of the families in Elk Creek go back 5 or 6 generations. They're still working the same land their ancestors settled over a century ago. If they don't farm, or work on a ranch, or cut timber in the hills, most of the men in town can get a job working at Elk Creek's only industry, the Louisiana Pacific Lumber Mill. All the kids in the valley go to school on the same hill. There's even a community baseball diamond on the mill property. The whole valley shows up here. Everybody seems to be on one team or another. And you know, At one of these games, I realized that there's much more here than just some little news story. I saw that these people share a place they belong. They have this deep, secure sense of belonging together. It's a sense of community. This valley is their home. It's that very important place you can go out of and come back to when you need it. But I learned things change. Sometimes, no matter how much you may need to, you can't go back. No matter how tired, how scared, or how alone you are, no matter how important it is, sometimes you can't go home because home isn't there anymore. And that's what this story is about.
And this is the one that would flood the town of Elk Creek, and they would have formed what would have been the biggest reservoir.
This is the threat I came to investigate. The state of California has plans to build a reservoir here. A state project gives some people in the valley power over the lives of others.
Would displace the Grindstone Indian Rancheria, would displace several farms and ranches.
You know, the day that I'm told that I got to leave or I've got to move because the government's coming in and taking my house and taking something away from me, well, I'm going to be pretty hostile. I mean, I might not show it, but inside it's going to be tearing me up, and it's going to be tearing up a lot of people. You just don't take something away from someone that's had something, or someone that's just got something and wants to hang on to it. You don't take it away that easy without causing any kind of hard feelings.
I found out that having your home taken away from you isn't a new experience in this place. Up until the 1860s, this whole valley was Indian land. Around that time, the U.S. cavalry marched the Nomlaki Indian people out of the valley. They drove them west, over the mountains, to a reservation or a concentration camp on the coast. A lot of them died. A lot disappeared. But gradually, a few survivors trickled back to their homeland. Of course, by then, the valley had been taken over by white settlers. They let the Indians stay at a rocky spot about 5 miles downstream from Elk Creek. Eventually, this became the Grindstone Indian Reservation. Now, the state wants to build a dam here, on the Indian land. That's the dam that would flood the town of Elk Creek. Ironically, now the law gives the Indians the power to decide if the dam can be built and whether or not the whites will have to move.
This was mine at one time. The whole thing was mine. But like I told you before, we're a conquered race. They took it away from us. So they allowed us this little rock pile to stay on. As long as we were alive, we can live here. And now all of a sudden, our council has the power. We hold the ace in the hole. The white man knows we can make this dam or break it. Why should I worry about what they think about it? I want something better. So if I have to sacrifice them to get what I want, well, I'll sacrifice them because they didn't worry about what they was making us do when they wanted our land. They took us, moved us, marched us, killed us, took what they wanted, stuck us in this rock pile. Now this rock pile became valuable all of a sudden. They say they don't want to lose their land because they've been here for years. How many years were my people here before they come move them out so they could have this?
Sing me back home, a song I used to hear. Make my old memories come alive. Take me away and turn back the years. Sing me back home
just can't explain it, really. It's friendship, maybe, knowing that you always have a place to go. If you get in trouble or you need help, you can always come back here. Out there or in here, that's a pretty good description. In here, it's home. Out there, it's the world.
And turn back the years. Sing me back home before I die. Yes, sing me back home before I die.
This is the only store that Elk Creek has at present. Everybody comes in here sometime or other for their mail, their groceries, to visit, shop. Some people come in 2 or 3 times a day. Even though we only get mail once a day, they still are looking for something.
Yeah, but a lot of the people in here seem to have found whatever it was they were looking for.
When you stop and think back, that my great-granddad, he got up in the morning and looked out and seen the same thing that I'm looking at today. Hopefully that my grandson will be able to see too. Well, that's heritage to me. There's a lot of people live here, and it's good land, and we just, it's our home, and we're just going to fight for it.
As a rule, Elk Creek people are fighters. A few years back, they had to fight to keep their own school. If they'd lost, the kids would have had to go outside the valley 30 miles to the next town. They're proud of their new school building, even though the student body is kind of small.
The graduating class this year, I think, was between 12 and 15 people. In the town, you know everybody, and in bigger schools like San Jose, they had 400 in the graduating class, and that's 3-4 times bigger than the whole school put together, you know, so you know everybody in the school. We didn't have too good of a season this year. I think we're something like 0-12.
He cannot get into the backfield. Every time he does, he destroys the play. You understand that? He's your man. You've got to take him. If he doesn't, you're going to have to take him, or you're going to have to take him. He gets in there every damn time. You can't do it. Huddle up.
There's only 9 players in an 8-man team, and we mainly go out there for the fun of it. You always get to play. You don't have to worry about being cut. We want to win. Hopefully next year we'll have a little bit better season.
Last one. 4th quarter, Gadini. 4th quarter.
We have customers that started out visiting our store, matter of fact, before they were born. Now they're married, they have children. We've even seen some grow up and are grandparents now. There's something in the country, in small towns like Elk Creek, that brings you back.
It's nice if you can go back. But sometimes, like the Indians, you can't go back. You're cut off. And what you want, you can't have. An old Nomlaki prayer asks for a good harvest, plenty of fish in the streams, acorns on the trees, berries and deer, elk and rabbit, for the people to be well and happy so they can dance all night, all the next day too. But the time came when all this was taken away, when the berries weren't theirs to pick, when the fish weren't theirs to catch, when the rabbits weren't theirs to hunt, when they couldn't go home anymore. There are times when it would be very nice to know there's a place to go back to. Up to now, Elk Creek people have been lucky enough to have that place.
I left for about 4 or 5 years. I was on the road and I never get back to home or anywhere. And it was miserable. Everybody's got to have something sometime, as far as I'm concerned. You know, if you don't have anything and you don't belong anywhere, you have nothing. There I was, kind of out in the cold and a little non-security, you know. It was really strange, because one day, all of a sudden, I just walked up and I didn't have a penny to my name. And I called back here, my folks here in Elk Creek, and I says, I want to come home. Well, I just come over the top of that divide, and there it was, you know. And I knew, once I got there, I knew that I was home. You know, there was a place for me. It wasn't out there, it was right here. I just make my own place and just try to be happy. Get along with what you have.
A lot of people have been coming home to Elk Creek for a long time. A lot of people have lived and died here. And that's one peculiar thing about this place. There's no clear line between the past and the present.
This used to be the coldest water in the country. You know, they used to stop here at my granny's place and visit a little. My granny always loved to visit. She'd sit here and visit them when they stopped to get a drink. Come on, I'll show you where this old cellar was over here. I used to run down there and be scared of that door when I was a little guy. It's dark down there. I was just a little guy, and I thought that was pretty dark old place. You know, this is a pretty great old country when you get to thinking about it, Ty. My old great-grandpa come here, and I guess his family was just small, you know. Kids were just small, and they'd been in Sutter's Fort. And he moved up here, and he took this country up. I really don't know how many white men there were here yet, but his ranch runs from about 2 miles down south here in the valley to about a mile north here, and from one hill to the other one. See, that was my great-grandfather, then my grandfather, then my father, then me, then your mother, then you. Think of all the generations that's been right here. Yeah, a long old time. Yeah.
It's only 5 miles down the road, but to go from Elk Creek to the Grindstone Indian Reservation is to enter a different world. They don't have a store or a school or a lumber mill or any farming or ranching. They do have an office the government built for them, and homes the government rents to them. But it took me a while before I saw what they really have of their own. I learned that even though the Indians have lost a lot, they managed to hang on to some songs and dances and bits of belief. This is their heritage. And it all seems to center around this place, the roundhouse. There's a prophecy in the Indian beliefs that just might have something to do with what's going on in the valley today. Nomlaki people talk about a prophet who traveled through this valley a long time ago. He dreamed of a spirit who told the people to build a roundhouse deep in the ground where they could keep the traditional ways. In his dreams, the prophet had seen the world destroyed, but he said those who listened and used the songs and the dances would be saved. He said that all the world outside would be wrecked by a north wind and high water. When the water was gone, there would be just Indian people here again. In the dreams, the ancestors were seen alive and happy. They would return when the grass was high, and with them the antelope and the deer. They would laugh and talk of the way the world was before.
There's so much that a lot of the Indians here has forgotten. Our beliefs, our language. Nothing can ever be the same again. They've lost it. This is all we have left. And it's part of me. It's part of my family, because I've taught my little ones to always respect it and to do right. I teach them what my grandpa and my grandma taught me.
Nomlaki people have always had strong ties to the past. But over the last 100 years, those ties have nearly been broken. That hurts, especially now. With the decision of the dam in front of them, the Indian leaders need guidance from the past.
Actually, what this is kind of a learning session to me. He's an important part of our beliefs. He knows all the rules. I, on the other hand, am the tribal chairperson, and I believe in it. So I have to get it from him to know what I can do and what I can't do. And that's the reason why I have to ask him, because I believe what he's telling me.
So you know that everything, all about this story, everything. No one won't leave you, and you got it. This was all the water, and all over this wood. That's the deck of the coyote, the God.
Before there were people here, there was water everywhere. Our God, the coyote, dried up the water and made this earth. These hills, these streams, these rocks were all made in those early days. When the water got dry, there were just Indian people here. Thousands of our people lived in this valley. There were villages and camps all along this creek. This place here was called Pumtididi. They say the people danced so hard the ground shook. That's what Pumtididi means, ground shake. He's the only one left that knows. And if something was to happen to him, I'm just afraid that, our traditional beliefs, all our rules that we go by, they'd be all gone.
I've lived in Elk Creek now for, 20 years, I guess, this year, and I feel like I belong to Elk Creek, and it's kind of the same way with Sawmill. After a while, you begin to feel like you're a part of the crew. I'd like to think they couldn't run without me, but I know that's not true. One job depends on the other because it's a step-by-step thing. And the sawyer has to saw it. He has to know how to saw the board. The board then has to progress up through the gang saw or the resaw and go to the edger. It comes out a nice little board if everything works out right. So each one of those men have to know what they're doing. sawmill where everyone works together to make the board keep moving. If one person is down, everybody goes down because there's no lumber coming. So it's definitely all tied together. You have to have the store here in town where people can go for their food, and the church. All of these things fit in together with the community people. And I think the same is true here in the mill. Everything works together, and if it wasn't for one, the other couldn't survive. And so I think it's, you know, you can compare the sawmill to the community in a big way.
What, they're going to think about closing the mill down?
Well, they've heard rumors.
There's rumors, but I doubt whether they'll close it down completely, because it has to pay for itself.
We've heard more or less through the grapevine that the mill is positively going to close down for about 30 days. But also, there's rumors that that close down is indefinite. We just don't know what's going to happen. Along with the possible threat of us being flooded here, it's given people a little bit of a scare.
Everybody in town knew about the threat of the dam and the possibility of the mill closing, but it seemed like there wasn't much anybody could do about it. So, life in Elk Creek went on pretty much as it always had.
2 down now, Leroy, 2 down now. Go, 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 Ed. Get the hole, get the hole. Go 2, go 2. Stand up, stand up, stand up. Way to go, Jimmy, way to be.
Here today, gone tomorrow, ain't got time for tears of sorrow. Don't care if I beg or borrow, love me while you can. Love me tonight, never let me go. When you hold me tight, you know you make it alright. Love me tonight, never let me go. When you hold me tight, you know you make it all alright.
Twice a year, the Indian people at Grindstone perform sacred dances inside the roundhouse. These can't be filmed. But one thing that can be filmed is the Indian hand games. It's an ancient form of recreation, one of the ways Indian people have been enjoying each other's company for centuries.
Something like this, like our culture, our ways, I can say that's mine, my way, my belief. That's the only thing that I can call mine. And that's the only thing I have to hold on to.
Well, even my kids live with it. I taught them it. They know it. They couldn't go out and teach somebody else. It's just here, within the roundhouse. It's a belief that we've always lived with. I mean, it's down through descendant after descendant. It's just passed along. If that roundhouse was not here, everything would just fall apart. To us, it's more or less a threat to put it underwater, but they'll move it. Can't move that. It's too old. If you move it, it'll never be the same. It'll just be gone.
The more time I spent in this valley, the more I realized it's not the buildings that make this place special. It's what's inside that counts. The buildings are only symbols.
get the lights off and we'll be ready to go. Let's go, Buzz. Better get going. Let's put... Buzz, you can set your Bible back here. We'll have more room.
There's a lot of people, you know, who would never go to church, but they sure love to see that steeple on the hill. It's important to them. Even though they might never go in the door, that church is important to them. Building burned down today, we would still have church. The church is the body of believers, getting together, strengthening one another.
Well, that doesn't only apply to church. I felt it many times in Elk Creek. That old-fashioned neighborliness.
Got together and did something, whether it was fix a barn or build a house or mark calves or work the cattle or whatever it may be, and it was a kind of a joint effort. Otherwise, you just can't get enough help to do that, and we're all good friends and get the job done.
People that have been married in the church, as I was, the church just means so much to them. It's a part of them. A church, that gets to be a part of them, just like the old school was a part of them. A lot of them can remember the old grammar school or the old high school that burned down. And they can remember these things, and it's a part of them because it's part of their past. And the past means a lot to a person, no matter who it is.
I think this is my little boy's, Laverne, and this is my other little boy. And this here is your little sister right here, honey. Darlene or Marilyn or something. They must have been bearing ever since my father was a little boy, because his mother and father, grandfather, your great-grandfather, and them are all buried right down there on my side of the folks.
Well, think about what it was like when they first rolled in here with the wagons, like maybe about here. Just camped under a tree and started getting ready for the first winter. Wasn't that something? On this side, Grandpa Burroughs' tomb.
How was he related?
Yeah, he was my great-grandfather on my dad's side. On my grandmother's side and on my dad's side there. See. Look at that old tree. Now, that old tree has seen a lot of sad times here when they buried these people, and it's probably seen a lot of glad times, too, here. Those old oak trees live a long, long time. You know, there's a lot of old memories buried in this cemetery here, and if they cover this with water, all those memories will be gone. We're made of this land, you might say, you know, and the land is ours, and we're part of the land anymore here.
During the Civil War, a lot of the Indian folks were driven from their home through this Pasquina country over the mountains to Covelo. They said that they started out from around Oroville bringing them through. Indians.
When those guys shoot them out, did they just made them walk?
Yes, they made them.
They don't ride or nothing?
I guess, honey.
You don't know if they let them eat or anything or something like that?
I imagine they fed them. But then my grandmother was the one that told me that she remembers being driven in that bunch of people. They headed them out over the hills, mountain, and the older people that couldn't stay up with the bunch, they would shoot them or either knock them in the head. And the babies that were crying, the soldiers would get them and dash them up against a tree and just throw them to one side. My grandmother did tell me that she looked for her baby sister, but she never did ever find her. She don't know whatever happened.
Some of them ran away?
Yeah, because one of my grandmother's older brother ran away. White people were after them. So they ran to this cave that is over these hills. I guess the soldiers followed them there, and they just poured a bunch of gunpowder down in there and just blew them, killed them all, killed them all, killed them all, killed them all, killed them all.
As people, we share many things. That need for a place we belong, for a sense of community, for a home. And also, we share the grief, the anger, the bitterness of loss. The great and terrible irony is we form these groups, these communities, and then push each other out. And sometimes the way we do that can be so brutal that we'd rather not think about it.
Father always said never to carry the dust from the cemetery out with you because the dead spirits might follow you home. He's always taught us to be sure and wash your hands, or he would make us go to the creek and jump in. The spirit here don't like to be bothered. They're dead and gone and want to be left alone.
It might have been easier to end this story here, with the past washed away and out of mind. Some of us might like it that way, because that would leave unsaid the ugly things that keep us apart. But I couldn't deny that there was something here, something that moves from the past through the present to the future. And I realized that sometimes we have to look back in order to move on. When you think about it, the state's plan to build a dam on the reservation and the power that gives the Indians over the whites in the valley is sort of a historic turning of the tables. The law of eminent domain. It gives the state the power to force the people in Elk Creek to move. But because they're under federal protection, it would take an act of Congress to force the Indians out. Well, that puts the people at Grindstone in a powerful negotiating position. The state's trying to persuade them to sell out and move. The Indians stand to gain land worth millions of dollars. But they'd be leaving some things behind. And, of course, if the Indians do decide to sell and the dam is built, then the whites in the valley will probably have to go.
We'd start looking for smaller, more stages.
We got a lot of things to think about. We're here to discuss selling the rancheria, who wants to, who doesn't want to, the feelings behind it, questions, which I can't answer. Sorry.
Well, if we sell, what are we looking forward to? More land, better homes, or what?
My ideas about it, I don't know if there's anybody else's, that's my opinion, that try to make the reservation self-supporting. Well, we'd still have a reservation and still have farming land. ones that wanted to work could work. You know, we wouldn't have to be hustling around to try to get our light bill paid or our phone bill and stuff like that.
I'm one for selling, but I have just as much tie here as anybody, I think. I was born here. And I'm willing to get out of here in order to benefit. If I can get some more land to where it be a self-supporting place, you can see just what we have here right now. And it's not working.
Oh, she did. Because she was trying to...
Well, to say that Grindstone isn't working is to say a lot, because the things that made life work for the Indians were devastated a century ago. But today, through the maze of programs the government built for them, people at Grindstone try to keep their community together. The families try to make it on their own. As some of the men travel 100 miles to work every day, it doesn't take much to see that that's not enough. Most still have to depend on the government. And that's like a disease that eats away at people, which defeats the very things that build community. But one of the most important of those things is choice. And that's the key difference between Elk Creek and Grindstone. Elk Creekers found something and hung on to it. But the Indian people didn't choose this place. They were stuck here.
What are we going to do in this rock pile? We've got 100 acres here, and 40% of it is creek bottom. What can you raise? What can you do? I'm tired of living on welfare. Disability. Let's get a piece of land down in the valley where we can be self-supporting, or at least get off of welfare. Because there's always been a dumb in, and all he wants to do is draw welfare and live off the taxpayers. They don't realize that we pay taxes either.
You know, there may be feelings here that people aren't even thinking about. And if you guys could tell us why, you know, everything's got to be considered.
Not like that dance house. Everybody's worried about dance house. They said they'd move that board for board.
But that's it. See, there is some people that maybe feel that they have ties here. You know, whoever it might be. Maybe that's one of your feelings.
It's one of mine because, because of our, dances and everything. But what I'm saying is the land.
The ground that it's sitting on is what she's trying to say.
You sure that's
To us, the ground it's sitting on is sacred. It's not the boards.
To me, the ground is sacred because the people, the boys, the women, they dance on that ground for years and years and years, hundreds of years. And to lose that just by up and moving it, like I said, never be the same. Because it's the spirit of the people that was in there a long time ago. They're still there. I know this.
There's something vital, and at the same time, something very vulnerable here. It's not just a place, it's a spirit. The big question is, can that spirit survive?
Uncle, what would be your suggestion for moving the dance house?
Throw it in the water.
Why does it have to go in the water?
What, that outfit?
Yeah.
That's a rule for that, see?
Yeah.
That's a rule, Indian rule.
She asks the spiritual leader of the tribe if the dance house can be moved. And he says, yes, it's been done before and there is a proper way. He says all the boards should be taken to the creek and thrown into the water. So water is the symbol of change, where the past is washed away and the future begins. It flows from one to the other. Things we can't quite grasp, the water understands. Then the center pole, which stands for the spirit, can be taken to the new site and a new dance house built around it.
I don't think we should just think about us. I think we should think about the future generations coming.
I want them to have something better in the future. What are my children going to say when they become of age where they can go out and earn their own living and say, hey, man, I got a pile of rocks here to take care of? where they could go down here and have 3,000 or 4,000 acres of farming land and go out and make their own, if they choose to. But you stop and think about yourself. Use your own common sense. What you want for yours, I want for mine. You're white and I'm black, or brown, whatever you want to call it. But I still got the same feelings you do.
I never asked the whites what they felt about the Indians, because I wanted to know what the whites felt inside themselves. And it's strange how much those feelings sounded like an echo of what the Indians must have felt 100 years ago.
I would love to have my kids be raised here all the way, and I think the possibility, if the dam does go through, that they're not going to be happy. I don't think. I think what's going to happen is they'll go someplace else and they'll wish they were back, but it's just it's someplace for kids to grow up.
It's not very nice. It's not very nice to have to get up and walk away from the place where you were born and raised, and where your father was born and raised, and where your great-grandparents and your grandparents and your parents are buried. They're on the ranch, and just get up and leave that.
Really, the people here mean nothing to them, nothing to them. If they get us out of this valley and get the reservoir built, then they'll go and get another valley with more people. Of course, it's pretty easy for some other guy to come in and say, we like this place for our reservoir. We want to take this away. Don't seem fair, does it, huh? After all these generations we've had trying to put this country together like it is today. It don't really look fair to me. I don't know. I don't know what you can do about it.
There's a lot of people in town that are going to be fighting for their homes too. Not only us.
The way I look at it, if they had a chance to make the money and sell and better themselves, they wouldn't worry about what we thought. I don't see why I should worry about their opinions. Because if they had a chance, they wouldn't worry about me. And you guys know that's a fact.
Well, to my way of thinking, it's going to mean leaving a lot of things behind that we were raised with. But on the other hand, I think it's going to be for the better for all involved, for the younger children growing up, because mostly we've lived in poverty here. I mean, this is home, we love the place and all, but it's just poverty, where I think if we do decide to move and we go out from here in the valley or someplace, we can prosper from it. Our children will be able to as they grow up. I think it'll be a hard decision, but once it's made, I think it'll be the right one. But to the people out there, I don't know.
Read the treaties and see how one has been broken. Read what the white man's done to the Indian all his life. Answer yourself.
There were no answers. And it'll be a while before the state and the Indians decide what to do about the dam. But while I was focusing on the dam, suddenly it seemed like Elk Creek's luck had gone bad.
You're never guaranteed anything.
Well, if the mill goes out of here, you're going to be hurting, but, you know, as long as it's here, you're going to be all right.
Well, it was a store here long before the mill was here.
Last Monday, I had word that we would no longer have a swing shift in our sawmill. Immediately after that, we realized that we had to cut further, so we took a total of 32 people. That's one shift off the sawmill and 50% out of the planing mill, which is a permanent cut.
Well, it is a threat to us to have either the dam come through or him lose his job. And what he's done now, I mean, he's lost his job. It might as well have been the dam. And after 10 years of living here, it's kind of hard to think, well, gee, this may be the end of it. We may have to give up what we've done here. Doesn't sound like much, but we've built a home, we've established here. Who wants to give it up? I don't.
Some of that Stokes though, I guess. Well, one thing about it, I'm not leaving with too much.
Somebody got to keep their chin up, and I try to cheer them up. I try to tell them facts. I can't because I don't know the facts, and the fact is how long. I don't know. I wish I did.
Well, Buster, thank you. I'll come up here and harass you one of these nights while you're slaving away. Bring back some good fish. See you later.
If it went down permanently, it would probably be devastating for the little town of Elk Creek.
I can't imagine myself going back over the divide and thinking this is going to be my last trip. I've never even thought about that. It's just something I don't even want to think about.
Hey, let's all together. Way to go, huh? Got a win out of that, mother. Hey, way to go, you guys. Hey, boy, sir, way to come back, huh?
Lots of them that live here are just like I am. They have their small little place that almost supports a dinner table. We've worked on these places over the years with intentions of staying here, retiring here. And everything we do is based on that. And if this thing came to an end, it's just almost like your life comes to an end. Along with your job, the valley, the people, the social life, the struggle we've been through to get it what it is, of closeness. Bad, bad.
I came to this place to investigate the plans of the state to build a dam over a small country town. But instead, I found a valley, a community, a home. And sadly, I saw the beginning of what is probably the end of that home. The lumber mill did close, permanently. The saws were taken out and hauled away. Even the baseball diamond, which the company had built for the town, was torn apart and taken out of the valley. It was almost like you could feel the floodwaters rising as families moved out of Elk Creek. A change had come, and there was an emptiness, like the center had eroded from the town. You could see it in a watering eye and a gentle turning away. The probable passing of Elk Creek. It's a big, sad feeling because we all live in the valley. In a way, we're all being flooded out. We could help each other, but mostly we don't see it that way. Instead, we cut each other off. There is a place where most of us have never been. Maybe we passed through once and then lost the way back. So now we know it only as a dim sensation of something lost. But at least we know it, and maybe that's enough. Maybe that gives us some place to start.
Funding for this program was provided by the National Endowment for the Humanities, the California Council for the Humanities, the California Public Broadcasting Commission.
Transmission cost for today's programming on KIXE